What's good with it, boyos? We got a quick video for the day. I guess it's kind of like a little PSA. It was something I thought would be really obvious information. I'm like, man, this is pretty low level stuff. I feel like once people are past those very early phases of their strength training journey, they don't need to hear this. Everybody knows it. But I looked around at myself, people who have been doing this for a while, and I think, it's one of those things that we all cognitively know, but if we look at our actions, maybe we don't truly internalize it. So I figured maybe I'd make a quick video about it. So I will sometimes get questions sent to me by people that I don't coach, and I will generally try to answer them whenever I have time, because I find it very flattering that people care about my opinion enough to ask for it. So people will ask about their training. Lots of it are people who are really into this. If they found my small little page, and it means the world to me that they're asking me what strategies they should take moving forward. So I try to give them a detailed response. But other times I'll get questions that are very poorly thought out. It'll be someone just asking in the hopes that you say the answer they're looking for. They've clearly sent this question to a bunch of other people. They're just looking for someone to confirm it and go with it, which is really obnoxious. People who ask it just to say something and then don't actually listen to the results, right? So I do understand why some people on social media who have a bit of a platform might come off as a little bit douchey with their responses. I think you get pretty desensitized to the idea that there are people behind these, because you get so many dumb questions that I think some people get hit in the crossfire. But I think it is important to remember these are people. And I got one today that I didn't think was very well thought out, but thinking back, I'm sure I would have had a similar question. I like to think I would have thought my way through it, but it's something we all do to probably lesser degrees, right? So let's say you had a session where you underperformed your expectations, right? If you're really new, you might not have the ability to calibrate your expectations really well, so that might mean nothing. It might mean absolutely nothing about your performance and more about how randomly you set your expectations. You're like, well, I expected a 30-pound PR. Well, if you didn't do anything to predicate a 30-pound PR, that speaks more to you need to be a little bit more skilled in your appraisal of where you're at, right? But let's say we've been doing this for a little bit. We kind of know what to expect. We're like, okay, my training up until this point led me to expect that this session I would hit X, Y, and Z. And let's say we fall significantly short of that, right? Like maybe one rep, okay, you were off by one rep of your estimations, but we fell more than one rep shy on a rep set. We felt like that's like a little bit like, man, I would have thought that I could do that. What's the deal? We had a bad session. Maybe that's on a bad session across the board too. We're just weaker. What do we do with that information, right? And the first thing is just take a look at your variables. Did you sleep? Did you eat? How is your hydration status? Were you particularly stressed? Those would be kind of the obvious four that I would first take a look at. You could think of something more like you say, oh, well, I was sitting in a car for a bunch of hours, which I don't normally do. Is there anything that you didn't normally do or that you normally do and you failed to do? Right? And you could try to give a concrete explanation. And a lot of the time when you underperform and you actually think about it, you're like, well, fuck, I didn't factor in the fact that I barely slept last night to my estimation of this session. There's a concrete explanation for why I underperformed. That means nothing about my program or my approach really needs to change. That means I either need to auto-regulate when I sleep less or make a point to sleep more, right? So if we can look to a concrete explanation, there you go, bada bing, bada boom. Move forward with that information on what to do better in your preparation, right? But let's say we come into the gym, we have a reasonably well-calibrated expectation for our performance. We fall shy and we're like a little perplexed. We say, I looked at all these variables. They all seem about normal. And I really think that I should have been capable of this. What is the deal? And this is where people will have a singular off session and then make adjustments to their program, which I don't think is well advised. So we have this off day, we look at it, we ask that basic question. And like I would say 9 times out of 10 when someone has an off day, something in that preparation question ticks a little box and it says, okay, don't read into this anymore from a programming perspective, right? And then let's say none of those boxes get checked. We're like, why did I underperform this session? They're freaking out, right? Usually what I tell people to do is to just calm the hell down and I would continue the course. Don't make any adjustments to your program off of a singular poor performance, no matter how unexplained it is. Sometimes you'll just have a bad day and it's probably something that I don't know about, right? That being said, we kind of ask that question, we go through this process, but don't make any adjustments, even if you can't explain for it. It's only once the problem is replicated that I would look to make adjustments to the program. You're like, okay, well, maybe now this is a program design thing because it was replicated. It's kind of like a study. A singular study doesn't mean all that much. Once a result is replicated, we can start really pushing in the direction of thinking this is what's going on. So if we then, that same training session the next week, also underperform. If we then, on the peaking phase of our next training cycle, we underperform again on this same week, we could say, okay, is our technique detraining, right? Like, is the program written in such a way that I haven't gotten enough practice toward the end? I'm only deadlifting once a week. I'm used to deadlifting twice a week. So my skill detrained, and that's why it kind of went off the rails late. Did we over accumulate fatigue at this point when we shouldn't have, right? Is it an intentional overreach of fatigue? In which case you should probably recalibrate your expectations at that point. Or is it that it accidental at point at which we're not supposed to be heavily fatigued, but we are, and we need to modulate our workload at that point in the training cycle. So I would say that once a result is duplicated and underperformance is duplicated, right? Whether it be, 2 days in a row, right? So we're like, okay, we're 2 training sessions in a row, inexplicably bad. Something's up there. I ate all my meals. I got all my sleep. I drank all my water. We could start looking at maybe we did over accumulate fatigue. Maybe we make programming adjustments going forward. Maybe we take a deload, whether it is the same session 2 weeks in a row. Again, something has been replicated here. And then we can start looking for systemic problems. If we wrote out approximately a week in either direction of that training, is there anything that's jumping out at you? Like, oh, this is really fatiguing, or oh, I'm not practicing this very much, whatever that might be. Or we could look at it from a macro cycle, like a training macro cycle, right? We can look and say, okay, or I guess mesocycle, macro cycle, whatever you want to put there. We could look at it and say, okay, well, the hypertrophy phase went really smoothly, right? I'm not going to change that chunk of training. The strength phase went smoothly. I'm not going to change that chunk of training. It only went off the rails the second week of the peaking phase. Again, this was replicated 2 training cycles in a row. We know this is more of a systemic issue. We can make the adjustment. But I guess the takeaway of this video is if you have a singular bad session, ask yourself if it can be easily explained. And even if it can't, don't make any panic adjustments off of it, off of a singular result. I just don't think that's a good use of time. Just try to calm yourself down. Be like, okay, I'm just going to do better tomorrow. And if going and trying to do better tomorrow doesn't work, then maybe we can start to look to the next step. What's going on, fellas? I actually just finished editing this video and was about to upload it. And I thought, well, shit, I totally forgot one of the other perfectly valid explanations that oftentimes needs to fall there, right? So when we're in that stage 1 of assessing a bad session, we're asking that question, well, do I have a concrete reason why did this happen, right? And we run through the preparation, we run through the sleep, we run through the food, we run through the hydration, yada, yada, yada. We look at external stressors, whether they were much higher today or yesterday than they normally are. And we're like, oh, well, none of these things really check the box. The other question you need to ask in this phase 1 assessment, and shout out to the old school Eric Bugenhagen videos, was the mindset there, right? Were you in the mindset that you know is generally connected with good performance, whether that be, oh, I need to be aggressive, I need to be amped up. No, I need to stay calm. I need to focus on my cues. I need to be mentally present, as in I need to be thinking about my form, not just moving things from A to B. You probably have generally observed that your good training sessions have general commonalities in what your mental approach was like, and ask yourself, well, did I ever get into that mental state that I correlate with good performance? And a lot of the time you'd be like, well, shit, okay, sleep, food, hydration, all good, but I never entered that aggressive or like mentally present or whatever it is for you state of mind that leads me my best session. So I was physically prepared, but I wasn't mentally prepared. You can ask yourself that question, and if that's the answer, you just need to help yourself establish rituals of, okay, sit in your car for a second, drink your energy drink, or when you do like 5 to 10 minutes of steady state cardio, watch a certain video, think about a certain thing to make sure that you have a part of your process to put yourself in that most productive mindset. Now I need to re-edit this video and put this in there because I do believe that matters.